Lightning split the Manhattan sky as Ethan Blake stood at his office window, 40 stories above the rain-slicked streets. The storm matched his mood, turbulent, dark, and showing no signs of letting up. His reflection in the glass told the story of another 16-hour day. Perfectly tailored suit slightly wrinkled, dark hair just beginning to rebel against its morning styling, and eyes that had long since stopped pretending to hide their exhaustion. At 35, he'd achieved everything he'd set out to accomplish. Blake Industries had just closed its most profitable quarter yet. Their tech division was revolutionizing sustainable energy storage, and Forbes had named him one of the youngest CEOs to watch. So why did success taste so bitter tonight? The answer lay in the small silver frame he'd buried in his desk drawer 18 months ago. He could still see Sophia's smile, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she laughed at his rare attempts at humor, the way she'd made him feel like more than just the sum of his achievements and bank accounts. Thunder crashed, and Ethan's iPhone buzzed with another email demanding his attention. Another crisis. Another decision that couldn't wait until morning. He reached for his coffee cup, now cold and bitter, like too many things in his life. "Mr. Blake?" His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Security needs you in the lobby. Immediately." Something in her tone made him pause. In 5 years, Monica had never used that particular inflection. Urgent, but hesitant, as if she couldn't quite believe what she needed to tell him. "What's wrong?" They say you need to see this yourself, sir." The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. Ethan checked his emails, more out of habit than necessity. The security alert on his phone showed no breaches, no unauthorized entries. Whatever waited in the lobby wasn't a threat, at least not the kind his extensive security system was designed to detect. The lobby's marble floors reflected the storm's fury through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Frank, head of security for 15 years, stood near the entrance, his usual stoic expression replaced by something approaching concern. "Mr. Blake," Frank gestured toward the revolving doors. "Someone left." Well, that's when Ethan heard it, a sound so out of place in the corporate sterility of his lobby that it took him a moment to process. A baby's cry, muffled but distinct. "We found her about 10 minutes ago," Frank explained, leading Ethan to a small bundle carefully placed just inside the doors. No one saw who left her. The cameras caught someone in a hooded jacket, but with this weather, Ethan's world narrowed to the tiny face peering up at him from a pink blanket. Dark eyes, still wet with tears, locked onto his. Something about those eyes. There was a note, Frank added, holding out a rain-spotted envelope. Ethan's hands moved automatically to lift the child. She couldn't have been more than 6 months old, yet she settled against his chest as if she belonged there. The crying stopped immediately, replaced by a curious cooing sound. The note was brief, written in a hand he'd know anywhere. "Her name is Clara. She needs you now more than I do. I'm sorry." The floor seemed to shift beneath his feet. Sophia. After 18 months of silence, after disappearing from his life with nothing but a cryptic letter about needing space, about not being able to watch him sacrifice his humanity for success, she'd been pregnant. Clara's tiny hand wrapped around his finger with surprising strength. In that grip, Ethan felt 18 months of carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. "Frank, call my car around." "Monica," he turned to his assistant, who had appeared silently at his elbow. "Cancel everything for the next 48 hours, and find me the best private investigator in New York. Money is no object." "Sir?" Frank shifted uncomfortably. "Should we call child services?" Ethan looked down at Clara, who had drifted to sleep against his chest. Her dark lashes fluttered against cherub cheeks that held hints of her mother's features. "No, she stays with me. But sir, the legal implications—" "Handle it." Ethan's tone made it clear the discussion was over. "Whatever paperwork needs filing, whatever strings need pulling, make it happen. This is my daughter." The words felt strange on his tongue, yet undeniably right. His daughter. Sophia's daughter. The thought sent a rush of emotions through him. Anger at being kept in the dark, fear for Sophia's well-being, and something else. Something he hadn't felt in 18 months. Hope. In his office upstairs, his laptop held folders of market analyses, quarterly projections, and strategic plans. His calendar was a battlefield of competing priorities and deadlines. None of it seemed to matter now. As rain drummed against the windows and Clara slept peacefully in his arms. "Your mother never did anything without a reason," he whispered to the sleeping infant, "and I'm going to find out why she left you here tonight." His town car arrived minutes later, the driver discreetly avoiding any reaction to his boss carrying a baby. As they pulled away from Blake Industries' towering headquarters, Ethan made 2 calls. The first was to his personal attorney, starting the process of establishing emergency custody. The second was to his home manager, setting in motion the transformation of his penthouse into a space suitable for an infant. The storm raged on outside, but inside the car, Ethan felt an unexpected calm. For the first time since Sophia had walked out of his life, he had a clear purpose. He would protect Clara, he would find Sophia, and this time, he wouldn't let his single-minded pursuit of success blind him to what really mattered. Clara stirred in her sleep, one tiny hand still gripping his finger. In that simple touch, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility, the terrifying magnitude of what lay ahead. He was a man who prided himself on control, on having contingency plans for every scenario. Yet here he sat, holding a sleeping baby, his baby, with no manual, no strategy, no guarantee of success. The city lights blurred past the car windows, each flash illuminating Clara's peaceful face. Somewhere out there, Sophia was alone, possibly in trouble. The Sophia he knew would never abandon their child without a compelling reason. The thought sent a chill through him that had nothing to do with the storm. "I'll find her," he promised Clara softly. "Whatever it takes, I'll find her. I'll make this right." As his car navigated the rain-slicked streets toward home, Ethan Blake, the man who had built an empire on calculated decisions and emotional distance, held his daughter close and felt his carefully ordered world begin to change. The storm outside was nothing compared to the tempest brewing in his heart, a storm of questions, of rediscovered feelings, and of a love he thought he'd locked away forever. Clara sighed in her sleep, and Ethan realized that for the first time in 18 months, he felt truly awake. The night's rain had washed away his certainties, leaving behind something far more precious, a second chance. The first rays of dawn crept through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Ethan's Central Park West penthouse, illuminating a scene that would have been unimaginable 24 hours earlier. The usually pristine living room was now a testament to chaos, designer furniture pushed aside to make room for hastily delivered baby equipment, shopping bags scattered across Italian marble floors, and in the center of it all, Ethan Blake, still in his dress shirt and suit pants, cradling a fussy Clara. "Okay, sweetheart, let's try this again," he murmured, checking the temperature of the bottle against his wrist for the 3rd time. The night had been a crash course in parenting, filled with YouTube tutorials and frantic calls to a private pediatrician who'd arrived at midnight to check Clara's health. Clara's dark eyes, so like her mother's, watched him intently as she finally accepted the bottle. The relief that flooded through him was almost embarrassing. He'd orchestrated billion-dollar mergers with less anxiety than he'd felt trying to feed his daughter. His daughter. The words still felt surreal. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. Michael Chen, the private investigator he'd hired last night. Ethan switched to speaker mode, unwilling to disturb Clara's peaceful feeding. "Mr. Blake, we've started piecing together Ms. Martinez's movements over the past year." Michael's voice was precise, professional. "She left New York shortly after her departure from your life, initially traveling to Boston. We've tracked medical records under her name at Massachusetts General Hospital." Ethan's chest tightened. "Medical records?" "Yes, sir. Prenatal care initially, then some complications during the later stages of pregnancy. She was admitted several times." The bottle slipped slightly in Ethan's grip. Complications. She'd gone through it all alone, while he'd buried himself in work, nursing his wounded pride. "Continue tracking her movements," Ethan ordered. "I want to know everything. Where she stayed, who she contacted, what she's been doing. And Michael, find out who else accessed those medical records. Someone must have been helping her." After ending the call, Ethan gazed down at Clara, who had drifted back to sleep. In the morning light, he could see more of Sophia in her features. The same delicate nose, the same stubborn set to her chin. How had Sophia managed alone? Why hadn't she told him? His home office beckoned, computers ready to access every resource at his disposal. But Clara's warm weight against his chest kept him anchored to the present moment. The doctor had assured him she was healthy, despite being slightly small for her age. "She's a fighter," the pediatrician had said, and Ethan had felt an inexplicable surge of pride. A soft knock at the door preceded the entrance of Diana, The night nurse his house manager had somehow procured at the last minute. "Sir, perhaps you'd like to get some rest? I can watch her while you sleep." Ethan shook his head. "I'm fine, but I need you to make a list of everything she'll need for the next month. Money is no object, but quality and safety are paramount." Diana hesitated. "Sir, if I may, babies need more than things. They need consistency, routine, love." "I'm aware," Ethan cut her off, softer than he'd intended. "That's why I'm not leaving her side until I understand exactly what's happening." As if sensing the tension, Clara stirred in his arms. Ethan instinctively began to sway, a movement that felt foreign yet necessary. His mind raced with questions. Where was Sophia now? Was she safe? The Sophia he knew was brilliant, determined, and fiercely independent. She'd been his equal in every way, challenging his assumptions, making him laugh, showing him a world beyond spreadsheets and stock prices. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Blake?" His building security manager's voice was apologetic. "Mr. Morrison is here. He's quite insistent." Richard Morrison, his mentor, the man who'd shaped his career and taught him everything about surviving in the corporate jungle. Of course he'd heard about last night's events. "Send him up." Ethan carried Clara to her hastily assembled nursery, placing her gently in the crib. "Diana, stay with her. If she needs anything, I'll take good care of her, sir." Richard's imposing figure filled the doorway moments later, his silver hair immaculate despite the early hour. His eyes swept the transformed apartment, taking in the evidence of Ethan's new reality. "Have you lost your mind?" Richard's voice was low, controlled. "The board meeting is in 3 hours. Johnson Tech is waiting for our final offer, and you're playing house." "Good morning to you too, Richard." Ethan moved to his kitchen, starting his coffee maker. Some conversations required caffeine. "Don't be glib. Do you have any idea what this looks like? A baby abandoned at your office? The media will have a field day. Our stock could take a hit. She's my daughter." Ethan's words cut through Richard's tirade like a blade. Richard stilled. "Sophia's child? That's impossible." "We made sure." He stopped abruptly, the coffee mug in Ethan's hand stilled halfway to his lips. "What did you say?" "Nothing. I'm merely pointing out that Sophia left. She made her choice. Whatever game she's playing now." "What did you mean?" "We made sure." Ethan's voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. "What did you do, Richard?" The older man straightened, his face a mask of corporate neutrality. "I did what was necessary to protect your future. Sophia was becoming a distraction. The merger with Johnson Tech has been in play for 2 years. We couldn't risk—" The coffee mug shattered against the wall, dark liquid streaming down imported wallpaper like tears. "Get out." Ethan's words were ice. "Don't be dramatic. Everything I've done has been for your benefit. Look at what you've achieved. Get out." Each word was a contained explosion. Richard's face hardened. "Don't throw away everything we've built over some misplaced sense of responsibility. The board won't understand." "The board?" Ethan laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You're worried about the board. I own controlling interest in Blake Industries. I built that company into what it is today, and if the board has a problem with me taking care of my daughter, they can find themselves another CEO." A cry from the nursery cut through the tension. Ethan moved past Richard without another word, his body vibrating with suppressed rage. Clara's whimpers grew louder, and he scooped her up, her small body fitting perfectly against his shoulder. "Shh, it's okay," he whispered, as much to himself as to her. "Daddy's here. I'm not going anywhere." When he turned around, Richard was gone. In his place stood Diana, concern etched on her face. "Sir, is everything all right?" Ethan looked down at Clara, who had settled against him, one tiny hand clutching his shirt. "No," he answered honestly, "but it will be. Call Monica. Tell her to start a complete audit of all communication between Richard Morrison and any other parties over the past 2 years. Every email, every phone call, every meeting." "Yes, sir." "And the board meeting?" Ethan smiled, a sharp expression that had earned him his reputation as one of New York's most formidable CEOs. "Move it to here. If they want to discuss the future of Blake Industries, they can do it in my home, with my daughter present. It's time everyone understood my new priorities." As the sun rose fully over Manhattan, Ethan Blake stood in his transformed penthouse, holding his daughter close, feeling the pieces of a puzzle he hadn't known existed beginning to take shape. Somewhere out there, Sophia was waiting, And now he knew. Her disappearance hadn't been entirely her choice. The game had changed. Richard's slip had revealed a truth that set Ethan's blood boiling. But he'd learned from the best: patience, strategy, and the ability to play the long game. He would find Sophia, uncover the truth, and make things right. For now, though, Clara needed him. And as he hummed a half-remembered lullaby, Ethan realized that for the first time in his life, he was exactly where he needed to be. 3 days into his new life as a father, Ethan sat in his home office, surrounded by digital displays showing surveillance footage, medical records, and financial transactions. Clara slept peacefully in a bassinet beside his desk, her presence a constant reminder of what was at stake. Michael Chen's face filled the main screen, his expression grim. "We've found something disturbing, Mr. Blake. The pregnancy complications weren't random. Someone accessed Ms. Martinez's medical files multiple times before each incident." Ethan's fingers tightened around his coffee mug. "Explain." "Each time Sophia visited the hospital, there was unauthorized access to her records within 24 hours. The access points were masked, but they originated from high-security servers. Someone with significant resources was tracking her." The implication sent ice through Ethan's veins. "Richard, it gets worse," Michael continued. "And we've traced a series of wire transfers from offshore accounts to several hospital employees during her stays. Small amounts, but consistent. Someone was paying to keep tabs on her condition." Clara stirred in her sleep, one tiny hand escaping her blanket. Ethan reached over automatically to tuck it back in, the gesture already becoming natural. "What about her current location?" "We've narrowed it down to 3 medical facilities in the Northeast, all specialized treatment centers. The pattern suggests she's dealing with post-pregnancy complications, possibly related to the issues during her 3rd trimester. The words hit Ethan like physical blows. While he'd been buried in acquisition meetings and profit margins, Sophia had been fighting for her life and possibly their daughters. The guilt was overwhelming. "Sir?" Monica's voice came through the intercom. "The board members are assembled in the conference room downstairs. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." Ethan turned back to Michael's image. "Find her, whatever it takes. And Chen, this stays between us. I don't trust anyone else right now." After ending the call, Ethan lifted Clara carefully from her bassinet. She blinked up at him, those dark eyes still striking him with their familiarity. "Hey, let's go show the board what really matters, shall we?" The private elevator opened directly into his building's executive conference room. 12 faces turned to stare as Ethan entered with Clara secured in a front carrier, her head resting against his chest. "Gentlemen, ladies," he nodded, taking his place at the head of the table. "Shall we begin?" Lawrence Wilson, the oldest board member, cleared his throat. "Ethan, while we appreciate your unique situation, perhaps this isn't the most appropriate venue for my daughter goes where I go." Ethan's tone left no room for discussion. "Now, about the Johnson Tech acquisition. Their solar battery technology is revolutionary, but their asking price is inflated by 40% based on market projections. I propose we offer them a merged development deal instead. Shared patents, combined research facilities." Clara made a soft cooing sound, and Ethan adjusted her position slightly without breaking his stride. "Their CEO, David Johnson, is more interested in legacy than profit. He wants to see his technology change the world. We can offer him that platform while maintaining control of distribution and implementation." The room was silent for a moment before Patricia Chen, head of R&D, spoke up. "The research sharing approach could accelerate development by years. If we structure it correctly." The meeting proceeded smoothly, with Clara remaining remarkably calm throughout. Occasionally, Ethan would pause to check on her or offer her a bottle, handling the dual roles of CEO and father with a grace that seemed to surprise his board members. As the meeting concluded, Wilson lingered behind. "I owe you an apology, Ethan. I thought, well, Richard suggested your personal situation might impact your judgment." Ethan's jaw tightened at the mention of his former mentor. "Richard seems to have suggested many things over the years. Tell me, Lawrence, did he ever discuss Sophia Martinez with you?" The older man frowned. "Only that she'd chosen to leave. He mentioned something about her not being suited for the pressures of your position. Though," he hesitated. "Though what?" "There was a board meeting about 18 months ago. Richard presented evidence that she'd been approached by competitors, suggested she might be a security risk. It seemed odd at the time, The evidence was circumstantial at best. A piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Ethan remembered that period. The weeks leading up to Sophia's departure had been filled with late meetings, urgent calls, constant demands on his time. Richard had orchestrated all of it. "Thank you, Lawrence. That's very interesting." After the board members departed, Ethan took Clara to the window. The Manhattan skyline stretched before them, a forest of glass and steel reaching toward the clouds. Somewhere out there, Sophia was fighting her battles alone. "Your mother," he told Clara softly, "is the strongest person I know, and the kindest." She saw through all of this. He gestured at the corporate empire around them. "To who I really was. I just forgot to see it myself for a while." His phone buzzed. Another update from Michael Chen. A facial recognition hit from a private medical center in Connecticut. The image was grainy, but Ethan would know that profile anywhere. "Sophia." "Diana," he called out, his mind already racing with plans. "Pack Clara's essential items. We're taking a trip." The nurse appeared promptly. "Sir, is that wise?" "Clara's still adjusting to her routine here." "Sometimes," Ethan replied, gathering Clara's things himself. "You have to break routine to make things right." He looked down at his daughter, seeing Sophia's determination reflected in those innocent eyes. "Besides, I think it's time Clara saw her mother." Within an hour, Ethan's private helicopter was prepared for departure from the rooftop helipad. As they rose above the city, Clara secured safely in his arms, he thought about the empire below. He'd spent years building it, sacrificing everything for success. Now, holding his daughter and racing toward Sophia, he realized success meant something entirely different. The helicopter banked north, leaving Manhattan's glittering towers behind. Ethan's phone lit up with urgent messages, Richard trying to reach him, board members with questions, deals requiring attention. He ignored them all, focusing instead on the tiny hand wrapped around his finger and the hope building in his chest. "We're coming, Sophia," he whispered into the wind. "Just hold on." The setting sun painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, a backdrop for the most important mission of Ethan Blake's life. No merger, no acquisition, no corporate victory had ever meant as much as this journey. In his arms, Clara drifted to sleep, unaware that every mile brought them closer to completing their family. And as the helicopter carried them toward Connecticut, Ethan made a silent vow. He would make this right. He would protect them both. And Richard Morrison would learn exactly what happened to those who threatened the people Ethan Blake loved. The private medical center rose before them like a modernist fortress, all glass and sharp angles nestled among Connecticut's rolling hills. As Ethan's helicopter touched down on the facility's landing pad, his heart hammered against his ribs. Clara stirred against his chest, perhaps sensing his tension. "Mr. Blake," a tall woman in a crisp white coat met them at the entrance. "I'm Dr. Eleanor Reynolds, Chief of Medicine. While we appreciate your considerable donation, I must stress that our patients' privacy is paramount." Ethan shifted Clara in his arms. "I understand discretion, Dr. Reynolds, but Sophia Martinez is the mother of my child. She needs to know we're here." The doctor's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. "Perhaps we should speak in my office." They followed her through pristine corridors, passing nurses and patients who tried not to stare at the imposing figure of Ethan Blake carrying an infant. Diana trailed behind them, carrying Clara's diaper bag and watching everything with trained attention. Dr. Reynolds' office was a study in understated elegance, with medical degrees sharing wall space with abstract art. She gestured for them to sit, but remained standing herself, her posture tense. "Mrs. Martinez was admitted here 3 weeks ago," she began carefully. "Her condition was complex, post-pregnancy complications exacerbated by severe stress and delayed treatment." "Was?" Ethan's voice cracked on the word. "She left against medical advice yesterday morning. She was quite adamant about it, especially after receiving a phone call. Doctor." Reynolds paused, choosing her words carefully. A call that seemed to upset her greatly. The timing wasn't a coincidence. Someone had warned Sophia he was coming. Did she say where she was going? No. But Mr. Blake, Dr. Reynolds finally sat down, her professional demeanor softening slightly. "She needs medical attention. The treatment protocol we started isn't complete. There could be serious consequences if she doesn't continue care." Clara began to fuss, picking up on the tension in the room. Ethan stood, swaying gently to calm her, his mind racing. I need to see her room and her medical files. Mr. Blake, I can't. Doctor. Ethan's voice was quiet but carried the weight of countless boardroom victories. That phone call, I believe it came from someone who's been manipulating and potentially endangering Sophia's health for months. Someone who had access to her previous medical records and used that information against her. Would you like to explain to the medical board how that happened under your watch? Dr. Reynolds' face paled slightly. Follow me. Sophia's room was on the top floor, with a view of the surrounding forest. It was larger than a standard hospital room, more like a hotel suite with medical equipment. The bed was made, the surfaces cleared, but traces of her remained, a faint hint of her perfume, a forgotten hair tie on the bathroom counter. The files, Ethan reminded Dr. Reynolds, who reluctantly handed over a tablet with Sophia's medical history. As he read, his free hand tightened on Clara's carrier until his knuckles went white. The pregnancy had been difficult from the start, with complications that required multiple hospitalizations. The latest issues stemmed from an infection that had gone untreated too long, because Sophia had been moving frequently, avoiding something, or someone. She mentioned being worried about surveillance. Dr. Reynolds offered quietly. We increased security protocols, but yesterday she became convinced she'd been found. She said she couldn't risk. The doctor trailed off, looking at Clara. Risk what? She said she couldn't risk him using her condition to take the baby away. The words hit Ethan like a physical blow. Sophia thought he would use her illness to take Clara. What had Richard told her? A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Michael Chen stood in the doorway, tablet in hand. Mr. Blake, we found something. Security cameras caught Ms. Martinez getting into a taxi yesterday morning. We've traced it to a train station in Hartford. Hope flared in Ethan's chest. And she bought a ticket to Montreal. But Michael hesitated. The ticket was never used. She didn't board the train. A misdirection, Ethan muttered, bouncing Clara gently as she began to fuss again. Sophia was too smart to leave such an obvious trail. She would have had a backup plan, an alternate route. He scanned the room again, this time with new eyes. What would Sophia see? What would she notice? His gaze landed on a small landscape painting, a peaceful scene of the Massachusetts coastline, the kind of painting you'd find in any upscale medical facility except Dr. Reynolds. How long has this painting been here? The doctor blinked at the apparent non sequitur. It was installed last week at Mrs. Martinez's request. She said it helped her relax. Ethan handed Clara to Diana and moved closer to the painting. The scene showed a small lighthouse perched on rocky cliffs, waves crashing below. He knew this place. They'd stayed there once, in a small bed and breakfast, during a rare weekend away from the city. Sophia had loved it, talking about how peaceful it felt, how far removed from the corporate jungle of Manhattan. Rockport, he breathed. She's gone to Rockport in Massachusetts. Michael was already typing on his tablet. There's a small medical center there, primarily serving the local community. Not as advanced as this facility, but off the radar, Ethan finished. Somewhere Richard wouldn't think to look because it's too small, too insignificant for his worldview. He turned to Diana. How's Clara's feeding schedule? She's due for another bottle in an hour, sir. Dr. Reynolds, I need supplies. Everything Sophia would need to continue her treatment safely. Can you arrange that? The doctor nodded, already reaching for her phone. I'll have it ready in 30 minutes. But Mr. Blake, she's not well. The stress of moving, of running, it's taking a toll. She needs stability, proper medical care. I know. Ethan took Clara back from Diana, drawing strength from her warm weight against his chest. That's why I'm not leaving without her this time. Within the hour, they were airborne again, the helicopter banking northeast toward the Massachusetts coast. Clara slept peacefully, unaware of the drama unfolding around her. Ethan watched the landscape blur below them, his mind on the woman who'd captured his heart years ago, who'd given him the greatest gift of his life, and who was now running scared because of lies and manipulation. His phone buzzed. A message from Lawrence Wilson. Richard had called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. The subject, a vote of no confidence in Ethan's leadership. Let him try, Ethan murmured to the sleeping Clara. He has no idea what I'm capable of now that I have something real to fight for. The sun was setting as the helicopter approached Rockport, painting the ocean in shades of gold and crimson. Somewhere down there, Sophia was hiding, fighting her battles alone, but not for much longer. This time, Ethan Blake wasn't pursuing success or power or corporate dominance. This time, he was fighting for love, and that made him more dangerous than Richard Morrison could possibly imagine. Rockport welcomed them with the sound of crashing waves and the cry of seabirds. The small medical center sat on the outskirts of town, a modest two-story building that looked more like a large home than a hospital. As Ethan's helicopter landed in the adjacent field, he could see why Sophia had chosen this place. It was the last location anyone would expect to find someone of her standing. Mr. Blake, Dr. Lily Chen met them at the entrance, her weathered face showing concern. I was told to expect you, but I must say, this is highly irregular. Is she here? Ethan adjusted Clara in his arms, his daughter's peaceful sleep, a stark contrast to the tension coursing through him. Dr. Chen's expression softened as she looked at Clara. Follow me, but I should warn you, she's not in a good place, physically or emotionally. They walked through quiet corridors painted in soothing blues and greens. The facility smelled of lavender rather than antiseptic, and the staff moved with unhurried purpose. It was everything the Connecticut Center wasn't: humble, genuine, human. She arrived yesterday evening, Dr. Chen explained as they walked. Exhausted, fevered. She refused admission at first, but her condition... The doctor paused. Well, let's just say she didn't have much choice in the matter. They stopped outside room 205. Through the window, Ethan could see Sophia lying in bed, her normally vibrant presence diminished by illness and fatigue. An IV drip hung beside her, and monitors beeped softly in the background. She's sleeping now, Dr. Chen said quietly. The antibiotics are strong, and her body needs rest to fight the infection. Perhaps you could come back. I'm not leaving. Ethan's voice was firm but quiet, mindful of Clara's sleep. Not again. Diana stepped forward. Sir, let me take Clara to the waiting area. She'll need her bottle soon, and this should be private. Ethan hesitated, then carefully transferred his sleeping daughter to the nurse's arms. Stay within sight of security. Inside the room, the steady beep of monitors marked time like a metronome. Sophia looked smaller than he remembered, more vulnerable. Her dark hair spilled across the pillow, and her face showed traces of fever's flush. Even in sleep, her brow was furrowed, as if she couldn't escape her worries even in dreams. He moved quietly to her bedside, taking in the changes 18 months had wrought. New lines marked the corners of her eyes, not laugh lines this time, but traces of worry and pain. Her hand, resting atop the blanket, bore a hospital bracelet and an IV port. He reached for it instinctively. At his touch, her eyes fluttered open. For a moment, confusion clouded her gaze. Then recognition hit, and she jerked away as if burned. No, she whispered, voice hoarse. You can't be here. You can't. Sophia. Her name fell from his lips like a prayer. Stop running. Please. She tried to sit up, wincing at the movement. You don't understand. I had to protect her. I had to protect her from what? From me? The hurt in his voice was raw. Or from Richard? Sophia went still. How did you? He slipped up, finally showed his hand. Ethan pulled a chair closer, maintaining enough distance to not overwhelm her. I know he manipulated you, Sophia. I know he had people watching you, accessing your medical records. What I don't know is why you believed I would ever let him hurt you. Tears filled her eyes. He showed me the papers, legal documents giving you emergency custody of the baby if anything happened to me during pregnancy. Said you'd take her, raise her with someone more suitable for your position, that my condition made me an unfit mother. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Papers I never signed, never even saw. Ethan's voice shook with barely controlled rage. He forged my signature, didn't he? Sophia's silence was answer enough. She looked away, tears tracking down her cheeks. Clara, is she? She's perfect. The pride in his voice was unmistakable. Strong, beautiful, so much like her mother. She's just outside with her nurse. Nurse? A bitter laugh escaped Sophia's lips. Already replacing me? No. Ethan leaned forward, his gaze intense. Protecting her until I could find you. Keeping her safe while I unraveled the web of lies Richard spun around us both. She needs her mother, Sophia. I need... A knock interrupted them. Diana stood in the doorway, Clara fussing in her arms. I'm sorry, sir, but she's hungry and she's making it very clear she won't wait. Sophia's eyes locked onto Clara, a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob escaping her. Ethan moved without hesitation, taking Clara from Diana and bringing her to Sophia's bedside. "Someone wants to see you," he said softly, lowering Clara so Sophia could see her face. The baby's fussing stopped immediately as she stared at her mother with those familiar dark eyes. Sophia's hand trembled as she reached out to touch Clara's cheek. "She's grown so much," she whispered. I've missed so much." "She's right here. We both are." Ethan carefully settled Clara in the crook of Sophia's arm, adjusting pillows to support them both, and were not going anywhere. The moment was interrupted by his phone buzzing insistently. The board meeting, Richard's attempt to seize control, the corporate empire he'd built hanging by a thread. Sophia noticed his distraction. "You should go. Your company can wait." Ethan silenced his phone without looking at it. "I've already made that mistake once. I'm not making it again." Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway, her expression concerned as she checked Sophia's monitors. Her fever's rising again. "She needs rest." "I'll take Clara," Ethan started, but Sophia's grip on their daughter tightened. "No, please." The fear in her voice broke his heart. "Just a few more minutes." Ethan met Dr. Chen's eyes, a silent plea. The doctor sighed but nodded. "A few minutes, then rest." As if sensing the precious nature of the moment, Clara had settled contentedly in her mother's arms, one tiny hand wrapped around Sophia's finger. The sight stirred something profound in Ethan's chest, a feeling of rightness, of completion. "I'm going to fix this," he promised softly. "All of it, Richard, the company, your health, whatever it takes. But I need you to trust me, Sophia. Can you do that?" She looked up at him, tears still shining in her eyes, but something else there too, a glimmer of the strength he'd always admired. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered, "and that's what made it all so hard. Then let me prove worthy of that love." He reached for her free hand, hope surging when she didn't pull away. "Let me be the man you saw in me before I lost my way." Outside the window, the sun was setting over the Atlantic, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. In that peaceful room, with waves crashing in the distance, 3 hearts began to beat as one again. The road ahead would be challenging. Richard's schemes to unravel, Sophia's health to restore, a family to rebuild. But watching Sophia with Clara, seeing the love and peace in both their faces, Ethan knew with absolute certainty that every battle ahead was worth fighting. He'd found his true north again, and this time, he wouldn't let anything tear them apart. Dawn painted the Rockport coastline in gentle pastels as Ethan paced the medical center's small conference room, his laptop open to a secure video feed. On the screen, Monica efficiently delivered her findings, each word adding fuel to his carefully controlled rage. "The evidence is irrefutable, sir," she reported. "We've uncovered emails between Mr. Morrison and several board members dating back 2 years. He's been systematically undermining your personal relationships while positioning himself as the voice of reason. The forged custody documents were just the beginning." Ethan glanced through the conference room window toward Sophia's room, where she slept peacefully with Clara nestled in a bassinet beside her. Dr. Chen had agreed to this arrangement after seeing how both mother and daughter settled better in each other's presence. "What about the Johnson Tech deal?" he asked, returning his attention to the screen. "That's where it gets interesting." Monica's expression turned grimly satisfied. "Richard has been in secret negotiations with them for months, planning to use your emotional instability as leverage for the board to remove you. Once you're out, he'd push through a complete buyout rather than the development partnership you proposed. Johnson Tech doesn't know they're being played. Send everything to Lawrence Wilson. Every email, every document, every recorded conversation. And Monica, make sure the SEC gets an anonymous tip about Richard's private trading activities during this period." "Already done, sir." "Oh, and Mr. Blake." A rare smile crossed Monica's face. "The private investigators found something else. It seems Richard has been embezzling funds through a series of shell companies. The amounts correspond exactly to the payments made to hospital staff during Miss Martinez's pregnancy." Ethan's answering smile was dangerous. "Perfect. Keep digging. I want everything ready for the board meeting." After ending the call, Ethan moved quietly into Sophia's room. The morning light softened her features, making her look more like the woman he'd fallen in love with years ago. Her color was better, the fever finally breaking under proper medical care. Clara stirred in her bassinet, and Ethan lifted her before she could cry. "Good morning, princess," he whispered, cradling her close. ready to help Daddy take down some bad guys. Teaching her corporate warfare already. Sophia's voice was sleepy, but held a trace of her old humor. Never too early to learn about hostile takeovers, he replied, sitting carefully on the edge of her bed. How are you feeling? Better. She reached for Clara, and Ethan carefully transferred their daughter to her arms. Dr. Chen says the new antibiotics are working. The infection is finally responding to treatment. Good, because we have plans to make. He met her eyes steadily. Richard's making his move today. The board meeting is in 4 hours. Fear flickered across Sophia's face. He'll try to take everything from you. Let him try. Ethan's voice was steel wrapped in silk. But first, we need to talk about everything. No more secrets. No more misunderstandings. I need to know exactly what he told you, what he threatened you with. For the next hour, Sophia revealed the full extent of Richard's manipulation, the carefully orchestrated meetings that kept Ethan away during critical moments, the evidence of Sophia's supposed corporate espionage, the forged documents threatening to take Clara, the subtle hints about accidents happening to troublesome people. He made me believe you'd changed, she finished quietly, stroking Clara's cheek as their daughter dozed. That power and success had become everything to you. When I found out I was pregnant, you thought I'd see it as a liability. The pain in Ethan's voice was raw. Sophia, I'm so sorry. I was blind, so focused on proving myself that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. We both made mistakes, she admitted. I should have trusted you enough to tell you the truth. Should have fought harder. A knock at the door interrupted them. Dr. Chen entered, followed by Dr. Reynolds from the Connecticut facility. The latter looked distinctly uncomfortable. Mr. Blake, Dr. Reynolds began, I've been reviewing Ms. Martinez's case with Dr. Chen. There's an experimental treatment protocol that could help, but it's expensive, Dr. Chen finished, and time-consuming. It would require Ms. Martinez to remain under constant medical supervision for at least 6 weeks. Ethan didn't hesitate. What do you need to make it happen here? Here? Dr. Reynolds looked startled. This facility isn't equipped. Then we'll equip it. Ethan's tone brooked no argument. Whatever you need, equipment, staff, specialists. Money is no object, but it has to be here, where Sophia feels safe, where Clara can be with her mother. The doctors exchanged looks. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. I'll make a list. After they left, Sophia touched Ethan's arm. You can't spend that kind of money right now. Not with Richard trying to take control of the company. Watch me. He covered her hand with his. And besides, by the time that board meeting is over, Richard won't be in any position to challenge my decisions. His phone buzzed. A text from Lawrence Wilson. The board members had received the evidence package. Richard was already calling emergency meetings with his allies. I need to go back to New York, Ethan said softly. Just for today. I have to end this. Once and for all. Fear flashed in Sophia's eyes. What if Michael Chen's top security team is already here. No one gets in this building without clearance. Diana will stay with you and Clara. He squeezed her hand. I'm not leaving you unprotected ever again. Clara chose that moment to wake, demanding attention with a decisive wail. Sophia shifted to feed her, the gesture becoming more natural each time. Watching them together, Ethan felt his determination solidify into unshakable resolve. When this is over, he promised, we're going to be a real family. No more hiding, no more fear. I'm going to be the father Clara deserves and the man you believed in. Just come back to us, Sophia whispered. Ethan leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to Clara's forehead. Then, after a moment's hesitation, another to Sophia's temple. Always. As his helicopter lifted off from Rockport an hour later, Ethan reviewed the evidence one final time. Richard had taught him everything about corporate warfare, about destroying enemies and seizing power. Now those lessons would prove his undoing. The New York skyline appeared through the clouds, Blake Industries Tower standing proud among the steel and glass giants. In his pocket, Ethan carried a photo taken just before he left. Sophia and Clara sleeping peacefully together, their matching dark hair spread across white hospital pillows. This wasn't just about saving his company anymore. This was about protecting his family, about becoming the man they needed him to be. Richard Morrison was about to learn the hard way that he'd created something far more dangerous than a corporate shark. He'd created a father who would stop at nothing to protect his own. The Blake Industries boardroom hummed with tension as Ethan strode through the doors. Every seat was filled, with Richard Morrison standing at the head of the table, a position that had been Ethan's since he founded the company. The usurper's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Ah, Ethan, how kind of you to join us." Richard's voice dripped with false concern. "We were just discussing the company's future leadership needs, given your recent distractions." Ethan remained standing, his presence commanding attention. Years of corporate battles had taught him the power of silence, of letting an opponent's confidence become their weakness. He slowly surveyed the faces around the table, some nervous, some apologetic, some carefully blank. "Before we begin," Ethan said finally, his voice carrying to every corner of the room, "I'd like to thank you all for coming, especially you, Richard. You've made this much easier by having everyone here to witness what happens next." He nodded to Monica, who began distributing tablets to each board member. Richard's smile faltered slightly. "What's this?" "Evidence." Ethan moved to the windows, looking out over the city he'd helped build. "Did you know, Richard, that the SEC takes a particular interest in coordinated market manipulation? They're especially interested when it involves embezzlement, forgery, and attempted corporate theft." The room erupted in murmurs as board members began scrolling through their tablets. Lawrence Wilson's sharp intake of breath was audible. "This is nonsense," Richard declared, but a bead of sweat had appeared on his forehead. "Obviously fabricated. The emails detailing your plans to force me out." Ethan turned, his voice deadly quiet. "The offshore accounts you used to pay hospital staff to spy on Sofia Martinez. The forged documents threatening to take my daughter. Tell me, Richard, what part of that is fabricated?" Patricia Chen gasped. "These payments, they match the discrepancies in the quarterly reports. A dedicated audit team has been working through the night," Ethan continued. "They've uncovered systematic embezzlement going back 3 years, money laundered through shell companies, then used to fund Richard's personal vendetta against my family." Richard's face had gone pale. "You don't understand. Everything I did was for the good of the company. That woman was a distraction, a liability. That woman," Ethan's voice could have frozen hell itself, "is the mother of my child, and you nearly killed her." He pressed a button, and the boardroom's screens lit up with medical records. "Delayed treatment due to forced relocation, stress-induced complications, infections that went untreated because she was running from your threats. Tell me, Richard, how many lives were you willing to destroy to maintain your control?" Lawrence Wilson stood, his face ashen. "These documents, the custody threats against Ms. Martinez, they bear my signature as a witness, but I never signed them." "Of course you didn't." Ethan's smile was razor-sharp. "Richard forged multiple signatures, including mine. The forensics report is on page 12 of your packets." Richard lunged for the door, but 2 SEC agents stepped in, badges displayed. "Richard Morrison, we need you to come with us." The next hour passed in a blur of legal procedures and shocked discussions. Board members huddled in groups, poring over the evidence. Richard was led away in handcuffs, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. When the room finally cleared, Ethan stood alone at the windows again. His phone buzzed with a text from Diana, a photo of Sophia reading to Clara in the morning sunlight, both of them looking stronger, more peaceful. A knock at the door preceded Monica's entrance. "Sir, there's something else you should see." She handed him a final report, detailed evidence that Richard had orchestrated similar manipulations at other companies throughout his career. Families torn apart, relationships destroyed, all in the name of corporate control. "Send this to the prosecutors," Ethan ordered. "And Monica, take the rest of the day off. You've earned it." His assistant smiled, a rare, genuine expression. "If it's all the same to you, sir, I'd rather help coordinate the transfer of medical equipment to Rockport. Dr. Chen sent her list." Ethan nodded, grateful beyond words for her loyalty. As she left, his phone rang. Sophia's number. "Is it over?" she asked without preamble. "Richard's been arrested. The board has seen everything. It's over." He heard her shaky exhale. "Clara's been fussy all morning, as if she could sense something was happening. She needs her father here." "I'm on my way." Ethan began gathering his things. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Doctor, Chen says the new treatment protocol can start tomorrow, once all the equipment arrives." "Ethan," she hesitated. "What happens now?" He paused, looking out over the city he'd sacrificed so much to conquer. "Now, Now I come home to my family. Everything else is just details. A commotion outside his office drew his attention. David Johnson, CEO of Johnson Tech, stood in the doorway, his expression thunderous. Blake, what's this about Morrison trying to manipulate a hostile takeover of my company? Ethan sighed into the phone. Sophia, love, I might be slightly delayed. One last fire to put out. Her soft laugh warmed his heart. Go be the businessman I fell in love with. Just remember where home is now. The next 2 hours were spent turning an almost enemy into a solid ally. David Johnson, once he understood Richard's manipulation, proved to be exactly what Ethan had initially thought. A man more interested in changing the world than controlling it. Their partnership agreement, rebuilt on honesty and shared vision, would revolutionize sustainable energy storage. As his helicopter lifted off from Blake Industries for the return to Rockport, Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The empire he'd built was secure, but his priorities had shifted. Success wasn't measured in stock prices or market share anymore. Success was waiting in a small medical center by the sea, in the form of a woman whose strength had humbled him, and a daughter whose love had saved him. His phone buzzed with another message from the SEC. They'd found even more evidence in Richard's private files. The man's web of manipulation and deceit had ensnared countless lives over decades. His downfall would send shockwaves through the corporate world. But for Ethan Blake, the only shockwaves that mattered now were the ones caused by his daughter's laughter and his heart's redemption in the eyes of the woman he loved. The horizon beckoned, painted in shades of promise and possibility. Behind him, Manhattan's towers stood as monuments to his past. Ahead lay Rockport, and a future measured not in dollars and cents, but in moments of joy and healing. Clara would grow up knowing both worlds, the power of the empire he'd built and the strength of the love that had saved it. But most importantly, she would grow up with parents who had faced darkness together and emerged stronger. The helicopter banked northeast, carrying him home to all that truly mattered. The transformation of Rockport's medical center happened with breathtaking efficiency. Within days, the small facility's east wing had been converted into a state-of-the-art treatment center, with Sophia's room serving as the cornerstone of their temporary home. Ethan had taken over a small office down the hall, running Blake Industries remotely while keeping his family close. The latest test results are promising, Dr. Chen announced, reviewing Sophia's charts one morning. The experimental treatment is working better than we hoped. Your body is responding well to the antibiotics, and the inflammation markers are down significantly. Sophia sat propped up in bed, Clara nestled against her chest in a baby sling that Diana had shown her how to use. The sight still made Ethan's heart skip. Mother and daughter together, healing each other with every moment shared. How much longer until she can come home? Ethan asked from his position by the window. Home. His penthouse had already been renovated, transformed from a showcase of success into a space designed for family life. Let's take it week by week, Dr. Chen advised. But if things continue this way, perhaps 3 weeks instead of 6. After the doctor left, Ethan moved to sit on the edge of Sophia's bed. Clara reached for him immediately, her tiny fingers grasping at his tie. The corporate warrior look seemed to fascinate her. You don't have to stay here all the time, Sophia said softly. I know the company needs you in New York. The company is fine. Ethan loosened his tie, letting Clara play with it. The board is still reeling from Richard's arrest. The Johnson Tech partnership is proceeding smoothly, and Monica is frighteningly efficient at managing everything else. Still, Sophia shifted, wincing slightly at the movement. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything you've built. Look at me. Ethan waited until she met his eyes. You and Clara are everything I've built that matters. The rest is just infrastructure. A knock at the door interrupted them. Michael Chen entered, his usual professional demeanor softened by what appeared to be genuine concern. Mr. Blake, Mrs. Martinez, we've finished our final security sweep. Richard's network has been completely dismantled. All the hospital staff he bribed have been identified and dealt with. Sophia tensed at the mention of Richard's name. Ethan placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. And his legal situation, he asked. The SEC has frozen his assets. The evidence of financial crimes alone ensures he'll face significant prison time. But, Michael hesitated, there's something else. We found records of similar operations at 3 other companies. Families he destroyed, relationships he manipulated. The prosecutors want to know if Mrs. Martinez would be willing to testify. Clara, sensing the tension, began to fuss. Sophia rocked her gently, a gesture that had become increasingly natural over the past days. "I'll think about it," she said finally. "But not yet. We need time." "Of course." Michael nodded respectfully. "Take all the time you need. We have more than enough evidence without your testimony." After he left, silence fell over the room. Ethan watched as Sophia soothed Clara, marveling at the bond between them. Even in the short time they'd been reunited, their connection had grown visibly stronger. "I dream about it sometimes," Sophia admitted quietly. "The fear, the running, thinking every shadow was someone Richard had sent to take Clara away. Those days are over." Ethan's voice was firm but gentle. "No one will ever threaten our family again. Our family." Sophia tested the words. "It still feels surreal sometimes, like I'll wake up alone again, running from ghosts." Ethan took her free hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. "I have something to show you." He retrieved his laptop, pulling up architectural plans. "I've been working with a designer. The penthouse renovations are almost complete, but I wanted your input on the final details, especially for the nursery." Sophia's eyes widened as she scrolled through the plans. The cold, minimalist space she remembered had been transformed into something warm and welcoming. Large windows remained, but now they were softened with window seats perfect for reading to Clara. The kitchen had been expanded, with a family dining area replacing the formal dining room. "You did all this?" "I had a lot of time to think, these past few days, about what really makes a home." He smiled as Clara grabbed his finger, her grip strong and determined. "I want her to grow up in a place filled with love, not just success. I want her to know her parents are together and strong." Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. "I never stopped loving you, you know. Even when I was running, even when I believed Richard's lies, my heart knew better. I know." Ethan reached out, gently wiping away her tears. "I felt the same. I just got lost for a while, forgot what really mattered." Clara chose that moment to demand attention, her cry piercing and determined. Sophia laughed softly, adjusting her position to feed their daughter. "She has perfect timing," she observed, "just like her father in board meetings." "But her mother's spirit," Ethan countered, watching them with undisguised love. "That determination to be heard, to fight for what she needs. That's all you." A comfortable silence fell as Clara nursed, broken only by the distant sound of waves against the Rockport shore. The morning sun painted patterns on the hospital room floor, transforming the medical space into something almost home-like. "I've been thinking," Ethan said finally, "when you're stronger after we're settled at home, would you consider making it official?" Sophia looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "Marry me." The words came naturally, without fanfare or grand gestures. "Not because of Clara, not because of what we've been through, but because I love you. Because I want to spend every day proving worthy of the faith you once had in me." Clara had drifted to sleep, her small face peaceful against her mother's chest. Sophia looked down at their daughter, then back at Ethan, her eyes shining with tears and something else. Hope, perhaps, or the rekindling of a dream she'd thought lost. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." The world outside continued its relentless pace. Companies merged, deals were made, empires rose and fell. But in that quiet room by the sea, 3 hearts beat as one, healing together, growing stronger with each passing moment. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Those didn't exist in their world of corporate power plays and hidden agendas. Instead, it was something better, a real beginning, built on truth, strengthened by adversity, and sustained by a love that had survived its greatest test. Clara slept on, safe in her mother's arms, while her father kept watch, protecting the precious future they would build together. 3 weeks into Sophia's treatment, the autumn breeze carried the first hints of winter along Rockport's shoreline. Inside her hospital room, now more reminiscent of a cozy apartment, Sophia stood unassisted for the first time since starting the experimental protocol. Ethan hovered nearby, one hand ready to steady her if needed, while Clara watched from her bassinet with curious eyes. "See?" Sophia's smile held a trace of her old confidence. "Getting stronger every day." Dr. Chen made notes on her tablet, nodding approvingly. "Your latest blood work is excellent. The infection is nearly cleared, and your strength is returning faster than expected. I think we can discuss transitioning you home within the week." The word home sent a flutter through Sophia's stomach. Not from fear this time, but from anticipation. The penthouse renovations were complete, waiting for them to fill it with life and memories. Are you sure it's not too soon? Ethan's protective instincts were on full display. The medical suite we've set up in your penthouse is actually better equipped than this facility, Dr. Chen reminded him, and Mrs. Martinez's recovery might progress faster in a more normal environment. Sometimes, the best medicine is being surrounded by family. As if on cue, Clara began to fuss. Sophia moved to lift her, her movements more confident with each passing day. What do you think, little one? Ready to see your new home? Ethan's phone buzzed. Monica with updates about Richard's case. The legal proceedings were moving swiftly, with more victims coming forward daily. The man's web of manipulation had stretched further than anyone imagined. The prosecutors still want to talk to you, he said gently to Sophia. But there's no pressure. They have more than enough evidence without your testimony. Sophia settled in the window seat, Clara content in her arms. I've been thinking about that. Maybe telling my story could help others. Show them they're not alone. Pride swelled in Ethan's chest. Even after everything she'd endured, Sophia's compassion remained intact. It was one of the countless reasons he'd fallen in love with her. Whatever you decide, we'll face it together. He joined them by the window, wrapping an arm around Sophia's shoulders. But first, let's focus on getting you both home. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Medical equipment was transferred to the penthouse. Staff was vetted and trained, and security protocols were enhanced. Ethan left nothing to chance. His family's safety and comfort were paramount. The nursery is ready, he told Sophia one evening, showing her photos on his tablet. The room was a perfect blend of sophistication and warmth, with a rocking chair positioned to catch the morning sun. But I left some details for you to finish. I thought you might want to make it yours too. Sophia's eyes filled with tears as she swiped through the images. It's perfect. Although, she hesitated, a shadow crossing her face. Ethan, we need to talk about something. He sat beside her bed, taking her hand. What's wrong? Clara's been having these moments, brief spells where she seems distant. Dr. Chen noticed it during her last checkup. Fear gripped Ethan's heart. What do you mean? Is she sick? They're running tests. Sophia squeezed his hand reassuringly. It might be nothing, but with everything that happened during the pregnancy, the stress and complications, whatever it is, we'll handle it. His voice was firm, though his heart raced. We have the best medical care in the world at our disposal. Clara slept peacefully in her bassinet, unaware of her parents' concerns. She'd grown noticeably in the past weeks, her features becoming more defined, showing traces of both Ethan and Sophia. A knock at the door preceded Michael Chen's entrance. Mr. Blake, Ms. Martinez, I apologize for the interruption, but there's been a development. Ethan tensed. What kind of development? Richard Morrison. He's offering a deal with the prosecutors. In exchange for leniency, he's willing to provide evidence against other corporate players who've employed similar tactics, including, Michael glanced at Sophia, including information about who helped him track you during your pregnancy. Sophia's hand trembled in Ethan's grip. There were others. A network, Michael confirmed. People in hospitals, transit systems, even real estate offices. They specialized in helping corporate leaders remove complications from their executives and lives. The implications were staggering. How many other families had been torn apart? How many lives had been manipulated for the sake of corporate control? I'll testify, Sophia said suddenly, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. Not for Richard's deal. He deserves everything coming to him. But for the others, the ones who might still be running, still be afraid. They need to know they can fight back. Ethan pulled her close, careful of her IV lines. You're incredible. You know that. I'm just tired of being afraid. She looked down at Clara. I want our daughter to grow up in a world where power doesn't mean destroying lives, where success isn't measured by how many people you can control. As if sensing the weight of the moment, Clara opened her eyes, reaching toward her parents with tiny, determined hands. Ethan lifted her carefully, settling her between them. Then we'll change it, he promised. Starting with our own company, Blake Industries is going to set a new standard, one that values family, integrity, and genuine innovation. Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway, holding test results. Her expression was carefully neutral. Mr. Blake, Miss Martinez, we have Clara's preliminary results. Sophia's grip on Ethan's hand tightened. This was their first real test as reunited parents, facing whatever challenges their daughter might have, supporting each other through uncertainty. Whatever it is, Ethan said softly, we're ready. The sun was setting over Rockport Harbor, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. In that peaceful moment, surrounded by the love of his family, Ethan Blake understood something profound. True strength wasn't found in corporate acquisitions or market dominance. It was found in the courage to face uncertainty together, in the power of forgiveness, and in the unwavering commitment to protect what truly mattered. As Clara reached up to touch his face with perfect trust, he silently renewed his vow. They would face whatever came next as a family, stronger together than they ever were apart. Dr. Chen's words hung in the hospital room like suspended raindrops. Clara shows signs of a rare neurological condition. It's called infant sensory processing disorder, complicated by mild developmental delays, likely resulting from the stress and complications during pregnancy. Sophia's grip on Ethan's hand was iron tight. What does this mean for her future? With early intervention and proper therapy, many children show significant improvement, Dr. Chen explained, her voice gentle but professional. The condition affects how Clara processes sensory information, sounds, touch, light. Those moments of distance, you noticed? She was likely feeling overwhelmed by sensory input. Ethan watched Clara sleeping peacefully in Sophia's arms, his heart aching with fierce protectiveness. What kind of treatment does she need? A comprehensive approach? Occupational therapy? Specialized developmental support? Possibly some dietary modifications. The good news is that we've caught it early, and you have the resources to provide her with the best possible care. After Dr. Chen left, silence filled the room. Sophia's tears fell silently on Clara's blanket, while Ethan paced by the window, his mind racing with plans and contingencies. This is my fault, Sophia whispered. If I hadn't been running, if I'd had proper care during the pregnancy. Stop. Ethan returned to her side, his voice firm but tender. This is Richard's fault, if anyone's. But placing blame won't help Clara. We need to focus on moving forward. Clara stirred, her dark eyes opening to study her parents with that peculiar intensity they'd noticed before. Now they understood why. She was working harder than most babies to make sense of her world. Mr. Blake? Monica's voice came through softly on the intercom. I have the specialists you requested on conference call. Within hours, a team of the world's leading pediatric neurologists and developmental specialists had been consulted. A comprehensive treatment plan began taking shape, with modifications to both the penthouse and the Rockport facility to create optimal environments for Clara's development. The penthouse renovations need to be adjusted, Ethan told his contractors via video call. Every room needs to be adaptable. Lighting, acoustics, texture. Clara needs to be able to control her sensory input as she grows. Sophia watched him coordinate these changes with the same intensity he'd once reserved for corporate takeovers. You're not disappointed? She asked hesitantly. Ethan looked up, genuinely confused. Disappointed? That she's not perfect. That she'll need special care, extra attention. He moved to sit beside her on the bed, gently taking Clara into his arms. Their daughter immediately grasped his finger, her grip strong and determined. Look at her, Sophia. She is perfect. She's ours. She's fighting to understand her world, just like you fought to protect her, just like I'm fighting to protect you both. That's not weakness. It's incredible strength. A knock at the door interrupted them. Michael Chen entered with a tablet displaying news headlines. Richard Morrison's plea deal had been rejected. The prosecutors had enough evidence without him. His network of corporate manipulation was unraveling, exposing decades of similar schemes across multiple companies. They're calling it the biggest corporate ethics scandal of the decade, Michael reported. Multiple CEOs are under investigation. Board members are resigning. The entire landscape is changing. Sophia shifted Clara in her arms, a familiar determination settling over her features. I want to speak at the trial. Sophia, Ethan began. Not just about Richard, about all of it. About what this culture of corporate power at any cost does to families, to children. She looked down at Clara. Our daughter is going to grow up in a world where success is measured by more than market shares and hostile takeovers. Pride swelled in Ethan's chest. Even facing their personal challenges, Sophia's compassion for others shone through. It was one of the countless reasons he'd fallen in love with her. Actually, Michael interjected, there might be an opportunity there. Several major business publications want to interview you both. Not about the scandal, but about Blake Industries' new direction, about putting family and ethics first while maintaining corporate success. Ethan exchanged looks with Sophia. What do you think? Ready to help change the narrative? Only if we do it together, she replied, and only after we're settled at home. Clara's needs come first. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. The penthouse modifications were completed with remarkable speed, incorporating every possible accommodation for Clara's sensory needs. A team of specialists was assembled, ready to begin early intervention therapy as soon as they transitioned home. Dr. Chen cleared Sophia for discharge, impressed by her recovery. The combination of proper treatment and family support has worked wonders, she observed. Sometimes the best medicine isn't in our protocols, it's in the healing power of love. On their last evening in Rockport, Ethan and Sophia stood by the window, watching the sun set over the harbor. Clara slept in her specially designed bassinet, surrounded by the soft lights and gentle sounds they now knew helped her feel secure. Ready for our next chapter? Ethan asked softly. Sophia leaned into him, her strength growing daily. Ready for everything, the challenges, the therapy sessions, the corporate restructuring, as long as we're together. Speaking of together, Ethan pulled a small box from his pocket. I know I already asked, and you already said yes, but I wanted to do this properly. The ring was elegant but understated, a perfect oval diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the fading sunlight. Sophia gasped as he slipped it onto her finger. It's not just a ring, he explained. It's a promise, to always put our family first, to face every challenge together, to build a legacy of love and integrity that Clara can be proud of. Tears sparkled in Sophia's eyes as she pulled him close for a kiss. In her bassinet, Clara made a soft cooing sound, one of contentment. They'd learned to recognize. Their daughter would face challenges, but she would face them with parents united in love and purpose. The world of corporate power plays and ruthless ambition that had nearly destroyed their family was transforming, partly through their own influence. As night fell over Rockport, 3 hearts beat as one in that quiet room. The future held uncertainties, but also boundless possibilities. They had each other, they had their love, and they had a chance to help change the world, not through corporate dominance, but through the simple, profound power of choosing what truly mattered. Clara would grow up knowing that her parents' greatest success wasn't measured in dollars or deals, but in the strength of their love and the courage to stand together against any storm. The Manhattan skyline glittered in the morning light as Ethan's helicopter approached the penthouse landing pad. Sophia held Clara close, their daughter peaceful in her specially designed carrier that minimized sensory overload during travel. The past week had been a careful dance of preparation, moving medical equipment, coordinating with specialists, and ensuring every detail of their home was ready. Welcome home, Ethan said softly as they landed, his arm protective around Sophia's shoulders. The penthouse had been transformed. Gone were the stark whites and modern edges that had once defined Ethan's bachelor lifestyle. In their place, warm colors and soft textures created an environment that was both elegant and comforting. Most importantly, every room had been optimized for Clara's needs. The nursery is this way, Diana said, leading them through the space. She'd been invaluable in coordinating the transition, ensuring every caregiver and specialist understood Clara's unique requirements. Sophia gasped when she saw the room. The walls were painted in soothing sea greens and blues, reminiscent of their time in Rockport. Smart glass windows could adjust their tint automatically, responding to Clara's sensitivity to light. A state-of-the-art monitoring system would help them track her responses to different environmental factors. The occupational therapy room is next door, Ethan explained, watching Sophia take everything in. And our bedroom is just across the hall. I wanted you both close. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes as she explored the space. Every detail showed thoughtful consideration, from the texture of the carpets to the gentle air circulation system that would help regulate temperature and sound. Mr. Blake, Monica appeared in the doorway. The prosecutors are here. Sophia tensed, but her grip on Clara remained gentle. All ready? We can reschedule, Ethan offered immediately. No. Sophia's voice grew stronger. No, I need to do this. For Clara, for all the other families Richard hurt. She turned to Diana. Would you stay with her, in case she needs anything? The nurse nodded, taking Clara with practiced care. The baby stirred but remained calm, already trusting the woman who had helped care for her since the beginning. The prosecutors waited in Ethan's home office, a team of 3 led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Rebecca Martinez, no relation to Sophia. Their expressions softened visibly when they saw Sophia, still showing signs of her recent illness but standing tall. Ms. Martinez, Rebecca began gently, we understand how difficult this is, but your testimony could help us expose not just Richard Morrison's crimes, but an entire system of corporate manipulation. For the next 2 hours, Sophia recounted everything, the initial threats, the forged documents, the constant surveillance during her pregnancy. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke, particularly when describing the impact on Clara's health. He didn't just threaten to take my baby, she concluded. His actions, the stress and fear he caused, gave her lifelong challenges to overcome. How many other families has he hurt this way? How many other children? Rebecca's team exchanged glances. We've identified at least 12 similar cases so far, one of them said, but with your testimony, more victims might come forward. A cry from the nursery caught their attention. Sophia was on her feet instantly, maternal instinct overriding everything else. I'm sorry, I need to… Of course, Rebecca smiled warmly. We have what we need for now. The trial starts next month. Take time with your family, Ms. Martinez. You've shown incredible courage. After they left, Ethan found Sophia in the nursery, singing softly to Clara while Diana adjusted the room's lighting to their daughter's preferred levels. The scene struck him with its simple beauty. This was what success really looked like. The specialists will be here tomorrow, he said quietly, not wanting to disturb Clara's calm. Dr. Chen recommended we start the therapy sessions gradually. Let her adjust to being home first. Sophia nodded, her fingers gentle on Clara's cheek. She seems to like it here. The room feels right, because it was designed with love. Ethan moved closer, wrapping his arms around both of them. Everything here is built on that now. His phone buzzed. Lawrence Wilson with updates from the office. The board had unanimously approved Ethan's proposal for a new corporate ethics division, specifically focused on preventing the kind of manipulation Richard had perpetrated. More surprisingly, other companies were reaching out, wanting to implement similar changes. Your interview requests have doubled, Monica reported later that evening, after Clara had been settled for the night. Forbes, Fortune, the Wall Street Journal, they all want to talk about Blake Industries' transformation. Sophia, curled up on their new living room sofa, looked thoughtful. Maybe we should do it, not for publicity, but to show other corporations that success doesn't have to come at the cost of humanity. Only if you're ready, Ethan insisted. You and Clara are my priority. I know, she smiled, the expression reaching her eyes in a way he'd missed during their time apart. That's why I think we should do it. Show the world that real power comes from protecting what matters, not destroying it. Clara's monitoring system showed she was sleeping peacefully, her vital signs strong and steady. The therapy equipment waited in its dedicated room, ready to help their daughter navigate her sensory challenges. Everything was in place for their new beginning. I never thought I'd say this, Ethan mused, looking out over the city lights, but I'm grateful for all of it. Even the pain, the separation. It taught me what really matters. Sophia joined him at the window, fitting perfectly against his side. We're stronger for it, all of us. In the quiet of their new home, surrounded by the life they were building together, Ethan Blake finally felt truly successful, not because of his corporate empire or his market influence, but because he had fought for and won the only thing that really mattered, a family bound by love, strengthened by adversity, and dedicated to making the world better for their daughter. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, therapy sessions, legal preparations, corporate responsibilities. But tonight, in this moment, they were simply a family, home, together, and that was the greatest victory of all. 1 month after their return home, the Manhattan Federal Courthouse buzzed with anticipation. Sophia sat in the witness stand, her voice clear and strong as she testified about Richard Morrison's systematic campaign of manipulation and fear. Ethan watched from the gallery, Clara secure in his arms, marveling at the strength of the woman he loved. And what made you finally stop running? The prosecutor asked. Sophia's eyes found her family in the crowd. I realized that protecting my daughter meant more than keeping her safe. It meant teaching her to stand up against wrong, to fight for what's right. I couldn't do that if I kept hiding. Richard Morrison sat at the defense table, his once imposing presence diminished by prison clothes and the weight of his crimes. When Sophia described Clara's health challenges, the direct result of pregnancy complications caused by his actions, several jurors openly glared at him. The defendant didn't just threaten my family, Sophia concluded. He represented a corporate culture that valued power over people, profit over humanity. That has to change. During a court recess, Ethan found Sophia in a private conference room, Clara reaching for her mother immediately. Their daughter had made remarkable progress in the past month, her therapy sessions helping her better process the world around her. The special environments they'd created at home gave her safe spaces to develop and grow. "You were incredible," Ethan said softly, watching Sophia soothe Clara with practiced ease. "I kept thinking about that night," Sophia replied. "When I left Clara at your office, I was so scared, so sure I was losing everything. But really, that's when we started finding our way back to each other." A knock at the door preceded Monica's entrance. "Mr. Blake, the press is requesting statements about the new corporate ethics initiative." The program, launched by Blake Industries in response to the Morrison scandal, had already gained significant traction. Several major corporations had signed on, committing to new standards of ethical governance and family-friendly policies. "Tell them we'll give a joint statement after the verdict," Ethan decided. And this story isn't just about corporate reform. It's about the human cost of unchecked power. The trial's conclusion came swiftly. Richard Morrison was found guilty on all counts, his sentence reflecting not just his financial crimes, but the human damage he'd caused. As he was led away, he caught Ethan's eye one final time. The younger man simply held his daughter closer, showing his former mentor exactly what real success looked like. 2 weeks later, Sophia stood in Clara's nursery, watching the sunset paint the Manhattan skyline in shades of gold. Their daughter lay in her specialized therapy space, responding beautifully to the sensory integration exercises her occupational therapist had designed. "The latest assessments are encouraging," Dr. Chen had reported that morning. "Clara's making remarkable progress. Her ability to process sensory input is improving weekly." Ethan appeared in the doorway, his tie loosened after a day of meetings. The Blake Industries boardroom had a different energy now, less cutthroat competition, more focus on sustainable success and ethical leadership. "The Johnson Tech partnership is exceeding expectations," he reported, moving to join his family. "David wants to expand our joint research into pediatric medical technology." He was inspired by Clara's story. Sophia smiled, watching Clara track a gentle light display designed to help her visual processing. From corporate raiders to healing children, quite a transformation. The best kind. Ethan wrapped his arms around Sophia from behind. "Speaking of transformations, there's something I want to show you." He led her to the penthouse's private elevator, Clara secure in her carrier. When the doors opened, they weren't on the ground floor but the roof, transformed into a rooftop garden with views of Central Park. Soft lights illuminated pathways between flowering plants, and at the center, "Oh," Sophia breathed. A small wedding altar stood ready, intimate seating arranged for their closest friends and family. Diana waited nearby, ready to take Clara, while Monica stood with a marriage officiant. "I thought about doing this in Rockport," Ethan explained softly, "where we found our way back to each other. But then I realized, this is where our story really began, where you trusted me with our daughter that stormy night, where we started becoming a family." Tears sparkled in Sophia's eyes as she took in the scene. White flowers echoed her engagement ring, while subtle blue accents matched Clara's nursery. Everything was designed to be sensory-friendly for their daughter while creating an intimate, magical space. "The press has been asking for details about our wedding," Ethan continued. "But this moment belongs to us, to our family. What do you say? Ready to make it official?" Sophia's answer was a kiss that held all the love, trust, and hope they'd fought so hard to reclaim. Clara cooed softly from her carrier, reaching toward the soft lights with growing confidence. The ceremony was simple but profound. Their vows spoke not just of love but of partnership, of fighting together for what mattered, of building a legacy their daughter would be proud to inherit. When Clara was included in the final blessing, her happy gurgle made everyone laugh. Later that evening, after their small group of witnesses had departed, the new family stood together at the rooftop's edge. The city stretched before them, but its pulse no longer demanded their souls in exchange for success. "I have something for you," Ethan said, presenting Sophia with an envelope. Inside was the deed to a small lighthouse keeper's cottage in Rockport, the same one from the painting that had led him to find her. "A weekend home," he explained. "A place where we can escape, where Clara can experience the peace you found there. A reminder that sometimes you have to step away from the noise to hear what your heart is saying." Sophia leaned into him, Clara sleeping peacefully against her chest. "We've come so far, and we're just beginning." Ethan kissed her softly. "The best kind of success isn't measured in quarters or stock prices. It's measured in moments like this." Below them, Manhattan continued its eternal dance of ambition and opportunity. But up here, in their private garden in the sky, three hearts beat as one, stronger for having been tested, more precious for having been nearly lost, and bound together by a love that had transformed not just their lives, but an entire corporate culture. Clara stirred slightly, and both parents instinctively moved to soothe her. Their synchronized response, born of love and shared purpose, said everything about their journey, from that stormy night when a baby's cry changed everything, through darkness and fear and finally to light. They had found their way to a success greater than either had imagined, not in power or profits or corporate dominance, but in the simple, profound miracle of family, in the courage to stand together against corruption, in the strength to protect what truly mattered. In the end, that was the greatest legacy they could leave their daughter. Not an empire of steel and glass, but a foundation built on love, integrity, and the unshakable truth that real power lies in the courage to choose what's right over what's easy. As night fell over their city, three hearts continued beating as one, writing the beginning of a new story, one of family, redemption, and love's endless power to heal and transform. What would you risk everything for? Like Ethan, who had to choose between his empire and his family, we all face moments that define who we truly are. Share a time when you had to choose between success and what truly mattered to your heart. How did that decision change you? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below, letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.